Today, Senate Republicans revealing new plans to push through confirmation hearings next month for Trump's Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. That's despite missing hundreds of thousands of Kavanaugh's records from his time in the Bush White House, files that might not be available until October. These are documents that the Republicans themselves demanded just a few days ago. Democrats say these files belong to the American people.
What are they hiding? What are they hiding? Let's be clear. The papers don't belong to Brett Kavanaugh, George Bush, or Donald Trump. They belong to the American people.
Democrats also saying Kavanaugh's nomination puts Roe v. Wade at risk.
They're literally trying to punish women. Didn't President Trump say during the campaign, we have to punish them somehow? He does not value women. And so every woman and man in America who cares about women's reproductive freedom and the ability of women to make their own judgments about their own body should be speaking out and fighting hard.
Joining me now is Stephanie Shriak, president of Emily's List, a national political group that supports women candidates. Stephanie, thanks for joining me on the show. Look, one great way to fight an imposition on women's rights is to run candidates and have those candidates elected. And that is a strategy that you have followed, and it's one that may make a lot of sense after the midterm elections. The problem is that this may happen before the midterm elections.
That is true, and I think that's part of what we're seeing going on today. So we can't, it appears now that we can't get all the documents on Kavanaugh until the end of October. Senator Grassley, the chair of the Judiciary Committee, has made it clear that he wants to do hearings in September still, blocking transparency and refusing to give all of the American people the opportunity to see what's going on here. Why rush this? It's 1 month. Wait a month. And then, oh, wait, there's an election. We can imagine why they don't want to wait a month, because this election this November could change the majority in the Senate. So it looks like a rush job here. But this is a huge mistake. This is for a lifetime appointment on the United States Supreme Court. Every senator should have access to all of these documents. I don't care which party you're in. It only makes sense to really vet, and that's what they should be doing.
So I talk to people who say Roe v. Wade's not in danger. It's established law. And cases that people have seen on civil rights and affirmative action and gay rights. I mean, there are a lot of people who think he's not going to mess with that.
Except, the president has made it clear when he was running and since that he was going to appoint justices that were going to do just that, to strip down Roe v. Wade, to pull rights away from women. And that's, we've got to, you know what? Trump has done pretty much everything he's promised to do, or he's surely attempted. I believe him again. This is what he's going to do on top of a lot of other things. So you better believe Roe v. Wade's already getting attacked in local courts around the country, in district courts. Legislatures that are controlled by Republicans are pushing through very dangerous laws that the courts thus far, in many cases, have stopped. But if the U.S. Supreme Court tears down Roe v. Wade, and it appears to me that Kavanaugh is the type of justice who would not stand by that precedent, then we've got huge problems. And I'm not sure it stops at Roe. And we're talking marriage equality. How far back are we going to go? Griswold was a case that allowed women to get access to birth control. So I say to all of my sisters and all of the men who love women, we need access to birth control. How far is this going to go?
But this country and a lot of women elected a president who said to Chris Matthews before the election that he would criminalize abortion, not simply not support Roe v. Wade. This president went much farther than that.
Well, and the question you asked before was, is this really going to be the case? Is it really going to happen? And, in the last election, I think there was a lot of feelings like, oh, he's just saying these kinds of things. Now we know from 18 months of him being in office that, no, he actually believes everything that he has said. He is actually moving forward on all of these promises that we thought maybe were just for, outrageous statements to engage the base. now women across the country know what the truth is, and so do men. And this is really going to be, it already has been motivating. There's a reason that millions of women marched across this country early in his tenure, and those women keep marching. I mean, Emily's List has had over 40,000 women sign up wanting to run for office to stop this guy.
We'll see the impact of that and the other marches that have occurred again at the ballot box, and that's something you're very involved in. But Slate's legal reporter tweeted this interesting take today on Democrats needing to fight now to save Roe v. Wade later. And he said Kavanaugh's going to overturn Roe v. Wade. Millions of progressives will take to the streets in protest, but if they could seize on that energy now, they might stop Kavanaugh and save Roe. I know in a lot of ways that's a sentiment you share, because one day when a ruling happens and everybody realizes that basic rights, maybe it's Roe v. Wade, maybe it's other basic rights that we consider basic now in America, when they slip away, everybody will take to the streets. And it may be too late.
Well, and we've got to go now, and it is really up to the American people across this country, women and men who care about human rights and equal opportunities have to rise up right now and talk to these senators, share with them their personal stories, their challenges, their hopes, their opportunities that they want for their future, and having access to reproductive freedom is a key piece, among other things. And we are seeing that happen in Maine. We're seeing that happen in we're seeing that happen across the country, and that pressure just has got to keep building.
You named 2 states that have women senators. Does it work elsewhere, where people have a very conservative base?
Absolutely. I think it is important to talk to every senator, whether you live in Mississippi or Indiana, if you live in Georgia or you live in Washington State. They need to hear what matters to you. And this appointment, this lifetime appointment on the court, is going to determine Roe v. Wade. It is going to determine probably the powers of the presidency. It's going to determine a lot of corruption. It's going to determine a lot of regulations. This is an important thing, and this is why we got to get back to these records. We need to vet Kavanaugh, and our senators, our elected officials, should have total access of every document that he has been engaged with. It is their job to do a full review. And I want to know, what are the Republicans trying to hide here? We have got to see these papers.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.